An Airbus A320 is plunging through a violent storm at 37,000 feet. The captain slumped over the controls. His heart stopped. The co-pilot's hands are shaking too badly to grip the yoke. 174 passengers are screaming in absolute hysteria, and the only person stepping forward is a skinny 16-year-old black boy in a worn-out t-shirt. But before he can reach the cockpit door, a flight attendant shoves him backward and hisses. "Disgusting little rat. A filthy little brat like you dares to rush into the cockpit. You want to kill everyone faster?" Is that he does not flinch. He just looks her straight in the eyes, calm, steady. She has no idea who this boy really is, and when she finds out, she will collapse to her knees in tears. How did a homeless black orphan become the last hope for Flight 2136? Stay with me. Miami, Florida, a city of sunlight, cruise ships, and million-dollar condos lining the coast. But 14 miles from those glittering beaches, tucked behind a row of check-cashing stores and a laundromat with a broken sign, sits the Overtown neighborhood, one of the oldest and poorest black communities in the American South. This is where Benjamin Townsend grew up, if you can call it growing up. Yeah, that's mine. Benjamin never knew his father. His mother, Lorraine Townsend, was a 20-year-old waitress who died of pneumonia when he was 4. She could not afford the hospital bill, waited 3 days before going to the emergency room, and by then her lungs were already drowning. Benjamin remembers only one thing about her: the smell of cocoa butter on her hands when she held his face and whispered, "Baby, you are going to fly someday." He was too young to understand, but those words buried themselves deep in his chest and never left. After Lorraine died, Benjamin entered the foster care system. 12 years, 7 homes. Some were neglectful, some were cruel. In one, the foster father locked him in a garage for 2 days over a broken plate. In another, the foster mother collected the checks and fed him canned beans and stale bread. By 13, Benjamin had learned one rule: nobody is coming to save you. But he had something no foster home could take: an obsession with the sky. It started at age 6 when a commercial jet flew low over Overtown. The roar shook his ribs. The silver belly reflected the sun like a second god passing overhead. He stared until his eyes burned. From that moment, something locked onto the sky like a compass finding north. He spent every free hour at the Miami Public Library, aircraft manuals, aerodynamics textbooks, pilot memoirs. The librarian, an old Haitian woman named Mrs. Collette, once found him asleep at closing time with his face pressed against a copy of Stick and Rudder. She did not wake him, just draped her cardigan over his shoulders and let him sleep. By 14, Benjamin could identify any commercial aircraft by silhouette. He knew the fuel capacity of a Boeing 787, the crosswind limit for an A320, the exact sequence for an emergency engine shutdown. He memorized cockpit recordings from YouTube, every call-out, every checklist. His foster siblings thought he was insane. His teachers ignored him. Benjamin did not care. The sky was the only place he belonged. Then at 15, everything changed. A retired Air Force captain named Earl Davis walked into the Overtown Community Center. Captain Davis was 71, dark-skinned, silver-haired, back straight as a flagpole. He had landed a C-130 on a dirt strip in Afghanistan under enemy fire. Earned the Distinguished Flying Cross, 32 combat missions. Now he ran a tiny volunteer aviation club for underprivileged kids that no newspaper covered, no politician funded, and no donor noticed. The first time Davis met Benjamin, he gave the boy 10 questions about flight instruments. Benjamin answered all 10 in under 2 minutes. Davis asked 10 more. Benjamin answered those too. Davis leaned back, folded his arms, and said, "Boy, who taught you all this?" Benjamin replied, "Nobody, sir. I taught myself." Davis was quiet for a long time. Then 5 words that changed everything. "I am going to teach you." Over 14 months, Davis trained Benjamin on a full-motion A320 simulator donated to the community center. 212 hours. Every weekend, every holiday, Davis taught him not just how to fly, but how to think. Stay calm when instruments scream. Trust your hands when eyes fail. Breathe when the world falls apart. Before their final session, Davis gave Benjamin a hand-carved wooden model of an A320 with 5 words etched into the belly. "The sky doesn't care what color you are." Benjamin kept that model in his backpack every single day. The only thing he owned that meant anything. Now at 16, Benjamin has won a STEM scholarship. The organization is flying him from Miami to Chicago for orientation at a prestigious aviation academy. His first time on a real airplane. Gate B22, Flight 2136, Seat 34F, last row. Cheapest ticket, the seat nobody wants. He walks through the gate in a faded gray t-shirt, second-hand sneakers, and a backpack held together with duct tape. He is smiling. He does not know that in less than 3 hours, everything about this flight and his life is about to change forever. The moment Benjamin steps onto the jet bridge, he feels it. A shift in the air, a silent wall of judgment. The businessman in front of him glances back, looks him up and down, then pulls his carry-on closer to his chest as if something might go missing. A mother nudges her daughter to the other side. No one says a word. No one has to. Benjamin keeps his head down and walks to row 34. Seat 34F is wedged against the window in the last row, right next to the lavatory. The seat does not recline. The overhead bin above it is already stuffed with someone else's luggage. Benjamin does not complain. He slides in, places his backpack on his lap, and presses his forehead against the cold window. Outside, the ground crew is loading bags in the rain. He watches them and thinks about Captain Davis, about the simulator, about Chicago. For the first time in his life, something good is happening. Then he hears a voice. "Excuse me." A woman is standing in the aisle, staring at him. She is in her early 60s, dressed in a cream-colored cashmere blazer, pearl earrings, leather handbag worth more than everything Benjamin has ever owned combined. Her name is Pamela Hargrove. She sits on the board of 3 charities in Palm Beach. She has never in her entire life ridden in economy class, but today first class was full, and she was downgraded to row 33. She is already furious, and now she is looking at Benjamin like she has just found a cockroach on her dinner plate. "Is that your seat?" She asks, not politely, not curiously, the way someone asks a stray dog how it got inside. Benjamin nods. "Yes, ma'am." 34F. Pamela's eyes narrow. She scans him. The worn t-shirt, the taped backpack, the second-hand sneakers with a hole near the left toe. Then she turns to a passing flight attendant, a tall blonde woman named Karen Bellows, and says in a voice loud enough for the surrounding rows to hear, "I need you to check this boy's boarding pass." There is absolutely no way he paid for this ticket. Benjamin's stomach drops. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out his boarding pass, and holds it up. His hand is steady, but his heart is slamming against his ribs. Karen Bellows takes the pass. She studies it. She looks at Benjamin. She looks at Pamela. Then she hands it back and says flatly, "It is valid." But Pamela is not satisfied. She leans forward and whispers loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, "I know how these people get tickets, stolen credit cards, fake identities. You should check the system again. I do not feel safe sitting near him." The words hit Benjamin like a slap. He says nothing. He puts the boarding pass back in his pocket, turns to the window, and stares at the rain. His jaw is clenched so tight his teeth ache. A woman sitting across the aisle, Grace Anderson, a 40-year-old nurse from Atlanta, watches the whole scene. She leans over and says softly, "Don't let her steal your joy, sweetheart. You belong here just like everyone else." Benjamin looks at her. He wants to smile, but cannot. He just nods. The plane takes off. Benjamin watches Miami shrink beneath the clouds. For 20 minutes, he allows himself to breathe. He pulls out the wooden A320 model and holds it in his palm under his backpack, where no one can see. He traces the words with his thumb. "The sky doesn't care what color you are, but peace does not last." At 32,000 feet, Pamela Hargrove calls Karen Bellows again. She says her purse feels lighter. She says she had $300 in cash when she boarded. She looks directly at Benjamin and says, "I want him searched." Karen Bellows walks to row 34. She does not ask politely. She says, "Stand up. Open your bag." Benjamin stares at her. "What?" "A passenger has reported missing cash." "Open your bag now." The cabin goes quiet. Heads turn. Passengers in rows 30 through 36 are all watching. Benjamin stands up slowly. His legs feel like they are made of concrete. He unzips his backpack in full view of everyone, revealing a change of clothes, a toothbrush, a library book about aerodynamics, and the wooden airplane model. No wallet, no cash, nothing. Karen Bellows looks at the contents. She says nothing, no apology. She simply walks away. Pamela Hargrove huffs and mutters, "He probably already hit it." A man in row 31, a heavy-set businessman in a golf shirt, lets out a short laugh and says, "Kid probably never even seen $300 in his life." A few passengers chuckle. Benjamin sits back down. He puts the wooden model back in the bag with trembling hands. His eyes are burning, but he does not cry. He will not give them that. He presses his forehead against the window and stares at the clouds rushing past. The same sky that has always been his only home, his only sanctuary. And now, even here, 40,000 feet above the earth, he cannot escape what the world thinks of him. Grace Anderson reaches across the aisle and places a small packet of tissues on his armrest without a word. Benjamin does not touch them, but he sees them. And for a brief moment in the middle of all that cruelty, one small act of kindness keeps him from breaking. 3 rows ahead, the cockpit door is closed. Behind it, Captain Ronald Beckett, a 58-year-old veteran pilot with 26 years and 18,000 flight hours, is rubbing his left arm. A dull ache has been spreading from his chest to his shoulder for the last 40 minutes. He tells his co-pilot, Craig Jennings, that it is probably just muscle tension. Jennings, 28 years old and in only his 4th month as first officer, nods and goes back to monitoring the instruments. Neither of them knows that a massive storm system is building directly in their flight path. Neither of them knows that in approximately 90 minutes, Captain Beckett's heart will stop beating. And neither of them knows that the only person on this aircraft capable of saving 174 lives is currently sitting in the last row, clutching a wooden airplane, trying not to cry. It happens without warning. A sound like a muffled explosion tears through the cabin. The plane lurches violently to the right. Overhead bins fly open. Bags tumble into the aisle. Drinks spill across laps. The lights flicker once, twice, then go dark for 3 full seconds before the emergency strips along the floor glow a pale, sickly green. Passengers scream. Children wail. The seatbelt sign dings on with a sharp metallic urgency that sounds nothing like routine turbulence. Then the plane drops. Not a gentle dip, a free fall. 500 feet in 4 seconds, stomachs rise into throats. A woman 3 rows ahead of Benjamin vomits into her hands. The man in the golf shirt who laughed at him is now gripping his armrest with both hands, whimpering like a child. Pamela Hargrove screams so loud her voice cracks. Benjamin does not scream. His fingers are wrapped around the armrest, knuckles white. But his eyes are different. They are moving, scanning, calculating. He feels the angle of the descent. He hears the change in engine pitch. The left engine is still roaring, steady, normal. But the right engine sounds wrong. A grinding, stuttering whine that rises and falls like a dying animal. Benjamin knows that sound. He has heard it 200 times in the simulator. Compressor stall. Stage 2. The plane stabilizes briefly. The intercom crackles. Craig Jennings' voice comes through, shaky, thin, trying to sound professional but failing badly. Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing severe turbulence. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened. Everything is under control. Benjamin knows he is lying. Everything is not under control. The A32 is not designed to shake like this from turbulence alone. Something is wrong with the right engine, and the brief stabilization means the autopilot kicked in. But if the engine fails completely, the autopilot will not be enough. Not in this storm. 60 seconds pass. The plane shakes again harder. The overhead oxygen masks deploy in rows 15 through 22. More screaming. A flight attendant stumbles down the aisle, grabbing headrests for balance, her face white as paper. Then the cockpit door opens. Karen Bellows rushes in. She comes back out 12 seconds later. Her face has changed. The professional mask is gone. What is underneath is raw animal fear. She grabs another flight attendant and whispers something. The other attendant's hand flies to her mouth. They both look toward the cockpit like they are staring at a coffin. Benjamin watches every movement. He reads their body language the way Captain Davis taught him to read instruments with precision and without emotion. The captain is down. He is certain of it now. Karen Bellows picks up the intercom. Her voice trembles. If there is any passenger on board with flight experience, any experience at all, please identify yourself to a crew member immediately. Silence. 174 passengers and not a single hand goes up. The businessman in the golf shirt stares at his shoes. Pamela Hargrove clutches her pearls and whispers prayers to a god she only remembers in emergencies. Nobody moves. Nobody speaks except Benjamin. He unbuckles his seatbelt. He stands up, and he begins walking toward the front of the aircraft. Grace Anderson sees him rise. Her eyes widen. She whispers, "Benjamin, what are you doing?" He does not answer. He just walks, steady, straight, one hand brushing the overhead bins for balance as the plane shudders beneath him. Passengers watch him pass. A teenager, a black teenager in a faded t-shirt, walking toward the cockpit of a dying airplane. Some stare in confusion, some in disbelief. An elderly man grabs his wrist and says, "Sit down, son. This is not the time for games." Benjamin gently removes the man's hand and keeps walking. He reaches the front galley. Karen Bellows sees him and her expression shifts from fear to fury. She steps in front of the cockpit door, blocking it with her body. And that is when she shoves him backward and hisses the words we already heard. "A filthy little brat like you dares to rush into the cockpit. You want to kill everyone faster. Is that it?" Benjamin stands still. The plane drops again 100 feet. Karen stumbles. Passengers scream. And in that chaos, Benjamin speaks for the first time since the crisis began. His voice is low, steady, and terrifyingly calm. "The right engine has a stage 2 compressor stall. Your autopilot is compensating, but it will fail within 6 minutes in this windshar. Your captain is unconscious or dead, and your first officer has less than 400 hours on type. If you do not let me through that door, everyone on this plane will die, including you." Karen Bellows freezes. Her mouth opens, but nothing comes out. Karen Bellows stares at Benjamin like she is seeing him for the first time. Her mind is trying to reconcile 2 realities. The filthy little brat she shoved 30 seconds ago, and the boy who just diagnosed the aircraft's engine failure with surgical precision. Her mouth is still open. No words come out behind her. The cockpit door is ajar. Through the gap, Benjamin can see it. Captain Ronald Beckett slumped sideways in the left seat, his body held in place only by the shoulder harness. His face is gray. His arms hang limp. On the right side, Craig Jennings is gripping the yoke with both hands, sweat pouring down his temples, his eyes darting across the instrument panel like a student who walked into the wrong exam. The master caution light is flashing amber. The engine warning display for the Wright power plant is pulsing red. And through the windshield there is nothing but black. A wall of storm clouds lit by flashes of lightning that make the cockpit glow like the inside of a strobe. The plane drops again hard. Karen grabs the doorframe. From the cabin behind them comes a fresh wave of screaming, louder, more desperate, more primal than before. Benjamin looks at Karen. He does not repeat himself. He does not beg. He simply says move. And she does. Benjamin steps into the cockpit. The smell hits him first. Sweat, vomit, and the sharp metallic tang of electrical systems under stress. Captain Beckett's body is heavy and still. Benjamin does not look at the captain's face. He cannot afford to feel anything right now. He turns to Jennings. Jennings sees him and his reaction is immediate. What the? Who let you in here? Get out. This is a restricted area. His voice is high-pitched, cracking at the edges. His hands are shaking on the yoke so badly that the control inputs are jerking the plane left and right in micro-corrections that are making the turbulence worse. Benjamin sits down in the observer seat behind the center console. He speaks clearly. Your vertical speed indicator is showing minus 1,500 feet per minute. You are descending and you do not realize it. Pull back gently 2 degrees nose up. Do it now. Jennings stares at him. You are a kid. A kid. Get out of my cockpit before I... The ground proximity warning system interrupts him. A robotic female voice fills the cockpit. Sink rate. Sink rate. Jennings' face goes white. He yanks the yoke back. Too hard, too fast. The nose pitches up aggressively. Benjamin feels the G-force press him into the seat. The airspeed drops. The stick shaker activates. A violent rattling.